So let's see what happens. Let's see this exchange. It's something that I had my reservations about J.D. Vance. I didn't know who he was when he was named the Trump's VP, but well, the debate was just amazing. The debate against Tim Walz. Tim Walz was, well, okay-ish, but Vance was absolutely abyss. So let's watch this clip and see. Let's see if we can learn about the way that he turns the question around. And let's see if we can learn that for ourselves.
People left behind, but he's making these statements that the mayor is flat out disputing.
Well, Martha, you just said the mayor said they were exaggerated.
Grossly exaggerated.
That means there's got to be some element of truth here. And of course, President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
And something that I wanted to talk about, by the way, I forgot to give you some a bit of background about that. He was talking about the Venezuelan gangs, and I saw a topic this morning that I wanted to share because it was important. Yeah, right here. Stunning admission by the NYPD. 20 Venezuelan gang members in New York City are behind 50% 42nd Street robberies. Every single one is still on the street. It has nothing to do with Aurora in Colorado, but I wanted to mention it because you know that I'm Venezuelan, and sometimes I need to talk in behalf of Venezuelans. And yes, been warning you, we Venezuelans can be hardcore, determined, and relentless. I am. And in a few rotten cases for all the wrong reasons. And I of course, it's embarrassing for me have to talk about these Venezuelan gangs that I know that are the worst. And they were talking about that in Aurora, Colorado, and he was trying to make his point, because you know that they want to make it seem that this is not happening. They want to make it seem that this is not happening. You know how it is. And Vance was maybe not trying. He was setting the record straight.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened.
Martha.
I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns.
You have to remember that these Venezuelan gangs have been invading these apartment complexes for, I think, years now, at least 1 year, if not 2 years, if I remember correctly. They have been there for some time already. And of course, they arrived thanks to the Biden-Harris administration and that, Swiss cheese border.
A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were...
No big deal, right? Only a handful of apartment complexes.
Taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs.
One thing that I absolutely love about the way Vance speaks is that he never really changes his rate of speech. He's very regular in his rate of speech. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't speak faster. He controls himself really well while he builds his argument in his mind. You know that is the hardest part of, for example, doing this live stream. I have to speak a certain rate of speech, and while I'm making that idea in my mind and expressing it, at the same time, it's something rather complex. And in my case, English is not my first language. But in the case of Vance, he is saying it like it is. You're nitpicking something that Donald Trump said about the Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado. Oh, he's he's blowing that out of proportion. And then it's just a handful of apartment complexes. Like they acknowledge it, they accept that it's only a handful of apartment complexes. Is she listening to herself? Is she really thinking that she is, getting the upper hand in this discussion? It's like she's putting her foot in her mouth saying that.
I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border.
Yeah, it also helps, of course, that you know absolutely all the details of what has happened. I don't know all these details. For example, what were exactly Donald Trump's policies and what was undone by Kamala Harris. This is the kind of things that I have to, put me up to speed among all the other topics that happen every day. I'm not complaining. I find this fascinating. I must say I had my reservations. I didn't know that I could do it. But this is my point, that you have the arguments, you know the numbers, you can destroy whoever is trying to put the problem where the problem is not. It's not, oh, you're talking about, you're making things up about Venezuelan gangs. That is not the problem. If it's one apartment complex or are 100 apartment complex, and that, oh no, it's just a handful of apartment complexes. You see how the host, the woman, is trying to reframe the problem as if it's no big deal. This is like a deja vu that I've talked about this, about manipulation so many times, and we have talked about this in relationships. We're talking about this in gossip videos, and every single instance. And now we're talking about U.S. politics, and you see the same patterns. And that's good, because once you know how to spot that pattern in one or two scenarios, you can translate or just, I don't know what would be the word, use it in this scenario as well. Like the woman is trying to dismiss the problem as it's just a handful of apartment complexes. Just a handful. No big deal. Why are you making such a big deal about this? Why are you complaining? Everything else is going fine. It's something normal that a handful of apartment complexes are taken by Venezuelan gangs that cross the border illegally, and now they're using high power weapons to shoot directly at the police. No big deal, right? Yeah, that's what she's saying.
And now we have the consequences and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Okay, let's just end that with they did.
You see that she is I say that she's leaning away from the screen in which Vance was appearing. I don't think that she's that much convinced, but she was destroyed anyway, or her argument was destroyed.
Let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said.
Okay, they did not invade. No, it's like, this is the thing. They are living in the apartment complexes, but they are doing their crime stuff everywhere. So it's pretty much like they invaded the city. You know, they're trying to correct this, but in a way that it makes no sense. They shouldn't be there in the first place. And they're only there because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, of course. This is how they're trying to fool the public. And the good thing is, the public is harder and harder to fool these days.
I want to move on to
just a few apartment complexes, no big deal.
A few apartment complexes that the mayor did not seem was invading the entire city.
This is what they do, as Joshua Lysek and Jack Posobiec said on Humans. This is what they do. They try to diminish whatever is happening, whatever is really happening in cities. Oh, you are making something out of nothing. That is, I wouldn't say, I don't want to say the word gaslighting, because the word gaslighting is being thrown so indiscriminately that, but you understand what she is trying to do. And that is upsetting. And that's why I wanted to show you this clip. Well, let's, I'm going to make a